Here are my no prep ESL games and activities. The first one is Charades or Pictionary. So these are very similar games. Charades is acting and Pictionary is drawing. To make it no prep, just quickly open up your textbook and find some review words, quickly write them down on strips of paper, and then divide the class into 2 teams, and then someone from a team has to draw or act out the slip of paper they pick out, and you can time it and then award points, and that is it. It's a very simple activity that I'm sure you've already done with your friends before. The next thing that you might know already is 20 questions. So this is when a person thinks of a secret person, place, or thing, and then the rest of the people have to ask yes or no questions to try to uncover what it is. The third no prep thing you can do in an ESL class is a role play. So think of a scenario just kind of based on whatever you're teaching. So maybe it's at the airport, maybe it's a restaurant, and then students can kind of just write a little role play together, and then you can give them a few minutes and they can act it out in front of the class. So I generally don't let students have their paper. I make them memorize what they've written just so it goes more smoothly and is a bit more interesting to listen to. The next no prep activity for an ESL class is word association. So this is a really nice warm-up or review activity. So if you're talking about animals, for example, it's likely that the students have already studied about animals a million times. So I like to do word association. So I get students to kind of make like a mind map of things. So maybe they could like do a little mind map about farm animals, maybe animals they might see at the zoo, maybe just like insects, birds, that kind of thing. And they can list just all the words that they know. This is a nice way for students to activate their prior knowledge before jumping into the new vocabulary in that lesson. The next thing you can do is the alphabet chain. So this is truly a no prep activity that makes a really nice time filler. So I have all the students maybe even stand up if you need to get some energy in your class, and then a student can say a word, blue. The next student can take the last letter of that word, E, and then say a word, elephant. The next student can take the last letter, T, and say tiger. And you can just kind of go around the classroom. So of course, this isn't that student-centered if you have, say, 30 students and 29 students are listening and 21 student is talking and 29 students are listening. So put students into smaller groups to play this. The next no prep activity is mixed up sentences. So take a sentence and then mix up the word order, write it down on the board, and then get students to put the words in the correct order. This is a really nice review activity. The next no prep activity you can do as kind of an icebreaker or a warm-up is 2 truths and a lie. So students can write down 3 statements, 2 are true, 1 is false. And then the other students in the group or the people in the class have to figure out which one is false. I always do a bit of a question time, so 2 to 3 minutes, for the other students to kind of grill that person, interrogate them, to try to find out which one is the false one. The next activity is storytelling. You can kind of do this as a round robin activity, so each student can get a piece of paper and they can write like once upon a time, and they can finish that sentence. Then when they're done, they pass the paper to the next person, and the next person reads it and then writes a sentence, and then keep passing it along until you have like, say, a couple paragraphs or 8 or 10 sentences, something like that. And then you can tell students, okay, this is the final sentence, wrap up the story, and then you can read the stories out loud to the class. The next no prep activity is lineup. So this is really nice for kids if you need a bit of energy in your class, if everyone's a bit sleepy. Get everyone to stand up, and then you can get students to line up according to a certain criteria. So maybe their age, their birth date, something like that. And you can get students to do it only by speaking in English. And the final no prep ESL activity is memory train. So this is when you have a theme. So I give students like animals or food and drink, something like that, and everyone in the class stands up. The first person says cat, the second person cat, dog, the next person cat, dog, tiger, then cat, dog, tiger, fish. And you keep going in a circle until someone can't remember and they sit down and are out of the game. Then keep going, and finally you will have one person that remains in the game. And as the teacher, I like to write down the words just so we don't get confused and there's no arguing or fighting about it. Okay, so those are my no prep ESL games and activities. If you like them, there are lots more of ideas in my book, 103 low prep ESL speaking games and activities. Please be sure to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment and let me know your favorite no prep ESL activity.